you have to search for a new set of rules.
Bread is of little use to the man who has betrayed his soul.
Maybe you're the protagonist in your story, but like there's a million other people.
All right, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Paradigm. We really appreciate you tuning in. Everybody's here, and we all hope you're doing better than last week. Improvement. In this week's episode, we're going to be talking about Chapter 2 from Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins, titled Truth Hurts. So we're going to start with a summary, followed up immediately by our initial idea of our favorite part of the chapter. And so to summarize, this chapter begins with the introduction of Wilmeth into David and his mother's life. Wilmeth was a successful carpenter and general contractor in Indianapolis. Wilmeth provided David and his mother with a sense of security, finally. David states, like something good was finally happening to us. David's mother was genuinely happy with him. Moreover, David states, Wilmeth became as close to a healthy father figure as I'd ever had. Wilmeth shared a passion with David, basketball. He showed David moves, tuned up his defensive discipline, and helped him develop a jump shot. And the summer before 8th grade, Wilmeth asked David's mother to marry him. Wilmeth had a basketball game the day after Christmas back in Indianapolis in 1989. David and his mother watched as he backed out of the driveway of their home in Brazil, Indiana. Upon his arrival back in Indianapolis, Wilmeth opened his garage, but never closed it. Once he exited his vehicle, he was shot 5 times in the chest, and when he fell to the floor, the assailant delivered the kill shot between the eyes, only to be discovered by his father the next day, collapsed in the garage in a pool of cold blood. He was 43 years old. Once word got to Wilmeth's mother, she called David's grandma's house in an attempt to contact David and his mother. Without David's mother there, Wilmeth's mother broke the news to David's grandmother, who shared it with David. Upset and concerned about his mother, David and his grandma drove to David's mother's house, where they found her anxious, as she had not heard from Wilmeth. She had called him before their arrival to the answer of a detective on the case. She didn't want to believe it, so they packed their bags and drove to Indianapolis, but not without a dress for his funeral. When they arrived, the house was covered in yellow police tape, and that's when David's mother finally knew this was real. A few days after Wilmeth's funeral and burial, David was enrolled in school back in Brazil, Indiana. Goggins states, so I played along, looking for any shred of normal I could hang on to. He continues, we were 2 people in dire need of a fresh start we thought we had coming, so even without Wilmeth, we made the move to Indianapolis. David was then enrolled at Cathedral High School. However, that was short-lived as the school cost his mom too much money. He then started at North Central High School, where his first and only concern was being cool. David hung out with the wrong crowd, and that meant not always attending school. So within a few weeks after his mother found him at home with 10 thugs, as she put it, they packed up and moved back to Brazil, Indiana, where David was enrolled at Northview High School with many of his past colleagues. But David had changed for the worst. He outwardly displayed thuggish behavior and style. For many people, the way David put it, for many people at the school, this was the first thuggish black kid they had ever seen in person. And because of his behavior, David was placed in the JV basketball team, despite being one of the best to try out. Goggins states, I was crushed, and because of basketball, and not just because of basketball tryouts. To me, that was the outcome of another symptom of something else I'd been feeling. Outright racism had always been there. He tells of multiple encounters with racism in Brazil, Indiana, one of which occurring not long after moving back to Brazil. He and his cousin went to a party in the country and stayed out past curfew. When they decided to go home, they called their grandma for a ride but were denied, so they started walking the 10-mile country road back home. About 7 miles along the road, they heard a truck coming towards them on the road. The passenger pointed and yelled through his open window the N-word. As the truck approached, it came to a stop, and a male exited the truck, pistol in hand. He aimed it at David's head and interrogated him as such. Where are you from? And why are you in this fucking town? After a few seconds of a stare down, the male re-entered the truck and they sped off. This wasn't the first or last time he would encounter racism in Brazil either. He would continue to deal with it in school as well, but not a soul at school could help him. Then David, quote, fell into a well of black nationalism. Malcolm X became his prophet of choice. But instead of adopting the Nation of Islam's discipline, he went out of his way to piss people off by becoming the exact stereotype racist people loathed and feared. Goggins shares, everything I did was to get a reaction out of the people who hated me most, because everyone's opinion of me mattered. And that's a shallow way to live. I was full of pain. It had no real purpose, but I hadn't let go of all hope. I wanted to join the Air Force. What David didn't realize was the emphasis that military places on education. Goggins states, I figured they'd take anybody. Two things convinced me otherwise and inspired me to change. The first being when David failed the ASVAB. The second was receiving a call from his mother after being kicked out. His mother called him to let him know a letter came in the mail, letting them know David was flunking out of high school. And if he didn't show improvement in his senior year, he would not graduate. David showed up at his mother's house later that day, and that night, after taking a shower, David wiped the steam from his bathroom mirror and took a good long look. He didn't like who he saw staring back. Goggins proclaims, it was time to get real. So the accountability ritual was born. David got real with himself, and he didn't sugarcoat it either. He states, the ritual was simple. I'd shave my face and scalp every night, get loud, and get real. I'd set goals, write them down on Post-it notes, and tag them to the mirror. And each day, he would hold himself accountable to the goals he'd set. Goggins states, the only way we can change is to be real with ourselves. Tell yourself the truth, that you've wasted enough time and that you have other dreams that will take courage to realize, so you don't die a fucking pussy. Call yourself out. He continues, your life isn't fucked up because of overt racism or hidden systematic racism. You aren't missing opportunities, making shit money, and getting evicted because of America or Donald Trump, or because your ancestors were slaves, or because some people hate immigrants or Jews or harass women or believe gay people are going to hell. If any of that shit is stopping you from excelling in life, I've got some news for you. You are stopping you. You are giving up instead of getting hard. Tell the truth about the real reasons for your limitations, and you will turn that negativity, which is real, into jet fuel. After his accountability mirror ritual, the day after, he began changing. Goggins states, mind you, the rest of the progress cannot be described as a blink and you'll miss it metamorphosis. In fact, the only reason I didn't become just another statistic is because I got to work. From then on, Goggins brainwashed himself into craving discomfort. Living with purpose changed everything for David. Goggins worked hard, and he states, by the time I graduated, I knew that the confidence I'd managed to develop didn't come from a perfect family or a God-given talent. It came from my own personal accountability, which brought me self-respect, and self-respect will always light a way forward. So I have a question for you guys. What was your favorite part of the chapter and why? Let's start with David.
Yes, sir. There's a part that I highlighted in the book that really stuck out to me. There's a paragraph on page 69. There's a paragraph that says, there is no more time to waste. Hours and days evaporate like creeks in the desert. That's why it's okay to be cruel to yourself as long as you realize you're doing it to become better. So I really enjoyed that quote because, you know, it's pretty interesting comparing the concept from, you know, Nice Bike, where you're supposed to look in the mirror and, you know, you're supposed to love yourself so that way you're able to compliment others and really make someone's day, acknowledge them. You know, you never know what that little effort of making someone feel heard can do for them, but you got to do it for yourself first. And I thought it was interesting because it's sort of the opposite with David Goggins when he's looking into the mirror. He's being cruel to himself only because he knows that what he wants is better for himself. And it's okay to do that. It's not necessarily a negative self-destructive thing as long as you know you're destroying the version of yourself that you don't like. You can destroy that version. You can talk shit to that person and break that person down so you can build up the person that you want to be.
Cool.
Yeah, that was a great part. How about you, Dev?
I would say towards the end of the chapter, especially when he, one thing is like when he shaves his head and he builds a ritual. before he even commits to his goals, he's already committing to looking totally different. I think within that, there's something that triggers someone to kind of dive off the deep end and then move into action. It's like we like to think that like, oh, the action's going to come after I take these small steps, and then I'll be like, okay, I have enough momentum to build up to that. But instead, he kind of he's like, I need a change. I want change now. And so that immediate change comes with him shaving his head and looking completely different. And even showing up to school, going back into his uniform, the way he tucked in his shirt. Because there was one point where he had his shirt tucked in and he was like, you know what I mean, like a preppy. He was classed as like a whiteboard, but that's how he dressed at his old school. And then he went to a different school and he sort of fell back into that, but in a very strict and self-fulfilling way. He didn't do it for anybody else. It was to prove to himself that I'm standing up for something that I want to change, like destroy that old person that I was becoming, because it wasn't helping me at all in life. Especially being a young adult, I think that takes a lot. Me as a young adult, I can never do something of that nature. But now that I'm older and wanting to improve myself, like with you guys, it's like I think stuff like that comes not easy, but I see the reason why. I could see the long-term vision rather than the short-term stuff. So I think that's what really stuck to me was the very action of him taking the leap off the deep end and then continuing to move forward rather than being like, okay, I'm gonna do this, then I'm gonna move into that. He just said, I need change now. And like you said, David, like the nice bite thing, like I don't know if a lot of people can handle being cruel to themselves. You know, I think society sort of like babies people, but David Goggins, if you listen to this book, if you read this book, I think we're really getting into it now. I think we're really getting into how David's mind really is broken down and how he developed this way of thinking.
Yeah, definitely. And he says on 73, it's okay to be unkind with yourself in these moments because we need thicker skin to improve in life.
Right.
And I 100% agree.
Yeah.
But how about you, John? What was your favorite part and why?
My favorite part is when he talks about the parachute guy who almost died. And I think it's this line. What was the guy's name? It's called his name was Gearin. He goes, Gearin was living proof of that it's possible to transcend anything that doesn't kill you. And from time I heard him speak, I knew how to listen to Air Force. And like in that section of the chapter when he talks about how he felt like he was free falling through life, you know, and how that guy, they told him that you probably never be able to do anything in the military ever again, let alone, you know, have a normal life. And he just broke all the rules. He was like, nope, I want to do it. And he got healthy and re-enlisted. I just thought that was really motivational. And this whole chapter, reading about David Goggins and stuff, it's kind of sad because I'm watching these young kids, you know, in the same age frame, right? And some kids already get in trouble and stuff, and we had to kick a kid out. And I'm like, man, he just doesn't know any better, you know? One kid in my classroom, he got in trouble. My principal was like, hey, you need to watch him. I sat him down. I was like, hey, man, what happened? And I guess he was hanging out with some bad kids that he hung out before, but he wasn't doing stuff or whatever. It doesn't matter. I was like, hey, man, look, this is the real life. You keep hanging out with bad people, you're going to be associated with bad stuff, and you'll probably end up doing bad stuff, you know? So you need to start making the decision now to be good. And that's what David Goggins did. He stopped hanging out with the bad crowd. He started eating lunch alone, right? It was all about him. So I thought that was real inspiring.
Yeah, definitely. It's so interesting to hear that somebody as a young adult took the initiative and wanted improvement and decided to make a change in their life. Because if I think about it, that really didn't start happening for me till I was out of high school. This happened for him junior, senior year. You know?
But listening to reading this book and listening to his story, dude, he had lived so much life up into that point, the amount of trauma and mental baggage that he went through. Right. Some people don't even experience that their entirety of life, you know?
Right.
So I feel like he had years on him just because of how rough life was for him, you know?
Yeah. Especially working at 6 years old, 6 years old, working at your dad's roller rink and not in a fun capacity at all. Being very it's almost like he's
a soldier, So,
and you're a child, you don't know how to work in an adult world. So that's really hard.
Yeah, definitely. For myself, my favorite part of the chapter I have highlighted on page 72. It was the first paragraph on that page. I'll read a little bit of it. It said, I looked at the people who were making me feel uncomfortable and realized how uncomfortable they were in their own skin.
Yeah.
To make fun of or try to intimidate someone they didn't even know based on race alone was a clear indication that something was very wrong with them, not me. But when you have no confidence, it becomes easy to value other people's opinions, and I was valuing everyone's opinion without considering the minds that generated them. That sounds silly, but it's an easy trap to fall into, especially when you're insecure on top of being the only. As soon as I made that connection, being upset with them was not worth my time because I was going to kick their ass in life. And I had way too much shit to do. Each insult or dismissive gesture became more fuel for the engine revving inside me. And this really stood out to me because, you know, there's people in life that look at that and become a victim of that situation. And he took that and was a victim at some point, but decided that he was done with it and made the change and understood that these people weren't even happy with themselves and that
Right.
something was wrong with them if they were upset with somebody for just because of the race of them or their ethnicity or the color of their skin. And so that was my favorite part, and that was why. So that brings us to challenge 2.
Devin, you want to go ahead and read challenge 2?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, sorry about that. All right, so this is challenge 2 of chapter 2. Starts with it's time to come eyeball to eyeball with yourself and get raw and real. This is not a self-love tactic. You can't fluff it. Don't massage your ego. This is about abolishing the ego and taking the first step toward becoming the real you. I tacked post-it notes on my accountability mirror, and I'll ask you to do the same. Digital devices won't work. Write all your insecurities, dreams, and goals on post-it notes and tag up your mirror. If you need more education, remind yourself that you need to start working your butt off because you aren't smart enough. Period. Point blank. If you look in the mirror and see someone who is obviously overweight, that means you're fat. Own it. It's okay to be unkind with yourself in these moments because we need thicker skin to improve in life. Whether it's a career goal, quit my job, start a business, a lifestyle goal, lose weight, get more active, or an athletic one, run my first 5K, 10K, or a marathon, you need to be truthful with yourself about where you are and the necessary steps it will take to achieve those goals day by day. Each step, each necessary point of self-improvement should be written as its own note. That means you have to do some research and break it all down. For example, if you're trying to lose 40 pounds, your first post-it note may be to lose 2 pounds in the first week. Once that goal is achieved, remove that note and post the next goal of 2 to 5 pounds until your ultimate goal is realized. Whatever your goal, you'll need to hold yourself accountable for the small steps it will take to get there. Self-improvement takes dedication and self-discipline. The dirty mirror you see every day is going to reveal the truth. Stop ignoring it. Use it to your advantage. If you feel it, post an image of yourself staring into your tagged up accountability mirror on social media with hashtags. Bam.
All right.
So that I feel like that challenge that's gonna be big.
Let's go.
Definitely. So the way we're going to go about it is we're going to share 2 of our insecurities, 2 of our goals, and then we'll have some follow-up questions on that. So who would like to start?
I'll start just because I read it. So I broke my goals down: short-term, long-term. So my long-term goal would be dealing with trading. I'm moving into wanting to become a funded trader instead of using my own capital. So my long-term goal will be to get funded for 100K. I'm going to start. So I broke it down. I'm going to start with a demo account, not practice with real money, and solidify a concrete strategy that I'm not risking and I'm not gaining. Like I'm not trying to beat the challenges or become funded overnight. So I'm going to stretch it out to become funded and continue to become funded over time. That's why I put it as long-term goal. I have my steps broken down, but I'll announce my short-term right now. My short-term, I'm undecided. It's either I want to keep showing up for my brother and my mom because they're still figuring out a lot of stuff, and I want to be that person that kind of like molds our family and become strong as one. Or it's gonna be um, to get our contract signed by the end of this month. So we do have a few properties. We have new properties that we're looking at, and we need to sign. We need one. So I think that's a short term, and it's very doable because we've got 2 in 1 month before. Breaking those down even further, I won't hold it up, but I have them broken down. Insecurities, I would say this is sort of like a weird one for me because I feel like where David Goggins is in chapter 2 is sort of how my mind looks at everything now. Everything's in my control. So, but I can identify such as income and my body weight. So, for instance, body weight would be wanting to gain 200 pounds because my whole life I've been stuck at 160, 170, and I want to get bigger. I want to get like more fined, more muscular. I've never been like that physique. I've never been like that big, like the dude that I always like. We always look at people that are like, dude, that dude's fucking ripped, or that dude's fucking huge. Like, I don't want to be like crazy, but I want to be, you know what I mean? I want to be that guy.
Dude, if you want to get that big, start taking steroids. That's what they do.
Yeah, well, yeah,
I'm over here ripped as hell.
I want to just get. I want to break that 200-pound mark. I'm almost there. I'm at 190. One thing I'm finding out is really hard to keep my body weight up. So I'm still figuring out how do I keep my body weight to that level and still maintain the physique that I want. The insecurity behind that is just past, you know what I mean? And also like security, protection. I want to be that provider for people like when we go out, if anything. And then the other insecurity is income. I look at all my friends and I feel like everybody's developed. I'm not saying that I'm not developing myself in any capacity. It's more of like everybody's on a great track right now. And then I look at my career and where I'm going, everything is sort of like free and up in the air because it's that entrepreneur journey. And I don't know if there's a solidified, oh, I'm an entrepreneur. I don't like that title. I want an actual profession. So I think insecurity would be like a profession, something that I can like be titled in life. I don't want to be titled an entrepreneur. I think anybody can become an entrepreneur, but I want an actual profession. You know what I mean? So that's something I'll probably start looking into because I think about that a lot. So I think I need to tackle that. But other than that, those are my main 2. Those are my 2 goals. But yeah, with that being said, that's all for me.
Okay.
Definitely. Would like to go next.
I can go. Okay. 2 insecurities I'm having right now is one, the tackling of creating like a syllabus, like a curriculum for these kids is like, whoa, dude, I gotta do this shit. Like, I'm kind of just winging it, and it's crazy. So that's an insecurity because I'm like, okay, I gotta really actually make this happen somehow. You know, the kids are gonna show up every day, Monday through Friday. Like, I gotta have something for them to do. So that's kind of scary to me. The second thing is just financially. You know, I want more. I haven't been doing too good trading recently. It is August, like the worst month to trade. So that's been hurting my ego a little bit. Things that I'm working on it ties into the insecurity thing. I thought I was like, I need to put a post note and be like, start making lesson plans for the kids. So I need to start like, we have this thing, it's called framing the learning. So like, what's my frame? How am I going to frame this up for the kids? It sucks because my welding shop's not ready yet. So it's going to be more like online stuff, but whatever, like we'll figure it out. And then that, and I've kind of been developing a new trading thing for me. This guy, he talked about like Pokemon and it really clicked in my head. And since then, I've been making more wins with it. So I'm trying to just find out what works for me. You know, not everything works for everybody, but find out like what's my thing. How do I work that out? So that's it. Oh, real quick, and Devin, wait. Why are you gonna paper trade the practice when you're already trading for real? I don't understand.
Because what I found out is when I have my real money, this is just psychology within myself, is when I have money and I'm up, I'm leaning into putting bigger sizes into my trades. And that's what's biting me in my ass. Yeah, and so when I have fake money and if I catch myself putting a bigger lot and I lose it, I'm not losing real money. And then I'm building the habit of stopping that. So when I place a trade, I'm not gaining anything. So why am I placing a bigger lot? It's a fake account. So why am I going to sit here and place a huge position size when I'm not? I'm looking for long term. And so for the funded challenges, you have to do the same thing. A funded challenge, you have to go and do demo account. You have to do fake money. So if I can train myself ahead of time and then pay for, because you have to pay to become a funded trader. They don't just give it to you for free. You have to pay, make a deposit, and then you have to prove that you're actually, it's risk management. The name of the game is risk management. If your risk management isn't there and you lose the whatever account you're going for, you lose the money that you deposited. So
Gotcha.
it's more of like the strategy that I want to see, like the demo, the psychology, playing with fake money. Can I even withstand? The number one thing is what you're asking. What you asked me is to answer that would be
makes sense.
yeah. So I think it's just I'm tired of gaining money and then putting bigger position sizes because I have a more money to play with, and that's what's hurting me.
That's what's hurting me too. So
Yeah.
I'm in the same boat.
So that's yeah.
What about you, David?
All right. So for the viewers who are keeping up, we're all virtual right now because I got COVID over last week. Still recovering from it, and just I took this time to read this book and really write down my insecurities and take this challenge seriously because I don't know, man, like hearing about COVID and stuff and really having your skepticism until you actually get it, it's kind of like a weird wake up call, and you're like, oh, what if I like die? You know what I mean? That it's like in your head, and all this shit's happening, even though
Dude, you're fine. Like you got sick. Like, what?
I know it's easy to say that, John, but I know people around me who've actually died from it, and it's just wild. But anyways, a lot of these things I was thinking about over the weekend because it's so weird just being inside the house. I'm with Sadie right now, but I noticed that my insecurities and things that I've been thinking about came to me very quick as soon as I read the challenge. Which one of them for me was, do I even really want to be a creative director? I feel like I have a little bit of insecurity about that because I haven't even researched the full scope of what creative directors do. You know what I'm like? Just their day in the life and how they organize and how are they being a team leader? How are they actually directing? I just say that I want to be these things, but I'm realizing that I need to do my research. I literally wrote down sort of like how David Goggins did it. Like, do you even know what the fuck a creative director does really? Do you do your research? Stop aiming with casual goals. You're playing yourself. What does it take to get there? How many years of experience do you need? Who is my favorite creative director? Don't be naive. Put in the work. Study great creatives. And I think that's something that I'm gonna really hold myself to. Even coming out of recovering in COVID, I knew I was gonna be okay, but there's still that part of me that it was just in my head and I didn't like it. And I started thinking about my goals and what I want to do, and like realizing reality is you could die tonight, tomorrow. Nothing's guaranteed, and I got to start this shit now. And another one was do you want to be physically great? And I think that one for me is just I'm insecure about not being able to protect other people or just be like a strong man. You know what I mean? I've dealt with that when I was a kid. I used to get made fun of, and I touched on it in the manifesting pain in the first challenge. But I wrote down stop eating bullshit. Stop drinking your calories. Just because I don't have a car right now because my car broke down doesn't mean I can't work out. I could still run. I could still do a home workout. Devin does them all the time. I think there's weights now at the apartment when I go back. But I'm telling myself when I look in the mirror, stop making excuses for yourself. I need to discipline myself when I'm running out of resources, and there's always a way to do it. And basically just stop living expediently, which is something that we talked about in 12 Rules for Life. I can't remember which rule that was, but, wake up on time, stop being lazy, be on time to shit, and just stop being comfortable.
Yeah, I'm glad you said be on time, because I was literally beating myself up on the way here. Like, I was just like, bro, again, really? Like, how many times do we need to discuss not being late before you're not late? And I mean, I was already frustrated. I didn't want to talk to Claire. I was like, yo, just give me fucking home. Like, and I don't know, like, I think over time, like, with us being so stern on just the punctuation, it like, I like it. I like the, like, bro, be on time. Well, like, who care? Who doesn't fucking matter if you went camping? We all know that we're supposed to be here on Sunday. You know what I mean? And so I was beating myself up on the way here. So I was like, bro, just drop everything, get to the fucking house, and jump on the meeting. So I'm glad you said, like, be on time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What about you, Jay?
Okay.
Alrighty. So I marked these guys out. I have 2 insecurities that I'm going to share here. One being my physique. I think I talked about it on one of these past episodes where haven't ever really been happy with my physique currently or in the past. So working on that, going to the gym, just getting new memberships at new gyms that I find, a hobby that's really interesting in exercise. Followed by, as of recently, I've been concerned. There's like 2 in this guy, and it's my geologic credibility linked with kind of feeling an imposter syndrome as a teacher and a teacher's assistant. I can kind of identify with John because I have to create a syllabus and I have to create, labs are created, but I have to be there for the students and I have to know what I'm talking about. So I have to have credibility in the field. And not only that, I have to research on the topic and be willing and able and ready to provide guidance to students. So those are my 2 big insecurities that I would bring to the podcast as of now.
Hey, just
All right.
one thing I wanted to touch on. I feel the same way. My whole life I've felt imposter syndrome. Even as a welder, when I knew I could weld, I would still show him and be like, "Can I really do this shit? Like, this is crazy." I'm in school right now, and I'm like, I get imposter syndrome all the time. I'm like, am I really gonna be able to teach these kids, or did the school just like let me in the door, like without a check of like my credentials? Like, this is crazy. So I think that's a normal feeling,
Oh yeah, definitely.
I think if anything, this might be the time you guys cherish the most as like instructors or teachers. You know what I mean? Feeling like you have to overcome something, and then once you break that barrier, then you're used to it. It's like, fuck, I miss that feeling of like the challenge of being a teacher.
Yeah, dude. I've been excited. Like, dude, I know I only had 2 days, but I went home on Friday. I was like, this is so sick, dude. Like, this is so fucking sick. I don't know. It's exciting.
So exciting.
No, you're good. So the 2 goals that I'm going to share today. So one goal of mine is I really want to be a good dad when that day comes to my future kids. So the way I'm kind of attacking that is by establishing good habits and foundational beliefs and foundational behaviors that I'd be willing to bestow upon somebody like my own kid when that day comes. Followed by, I really want to be a lighthouse to others. And I think this ties into that imposter syndrome, my geologic credibility, because in order to be a lighthouse to others, you have to have the light. And so I think I want to have like a personality. It's kind of sucks because we're all asynchronous online this semester, but I still want to be available during my office hours weekly to where students can come and see me, and I can be a lighthouse to others by inspiring that next generation of people that are going to be teachers, because that's what I'm teaching, is teaching people that want to teach earth and environmental sciences. And so I had a question for each of you guys. If you guys want to bring up one goal, we can break it down. But the question is, each of these goals are boulders. They seem grandiose. But we learned in the catalyst that we have to turn boulders into pebbles. So the question is, how are you going to turn these boulders into pebbles moving into September?
Okay, well, my goal is to pretty much build my curriculum for my classes, and I'm doing that as pebbles. Is that I have like a syllabus for the whole year. It's week by week, and I'm going through and making like an outline, like a frame of what we're gonna do and the quizzes. So, making the year week by week. Those are different pebbles for me, and by next year, I will have a very good scaffolding to build off of from here on out. You know. So
Definitely.
that's where I'm at.
Okay.
Nice. You said one goal, right?
Yeah, you can just choose one.
Yeah. For me is my long-term goal of being a creative director. I think I'm gonna break that boulder down into pebbles by doing some of the things that I think I haven't really thought about until recently. Just what kind of creative director do I want to be? Really establishing that, researching great creative directors, researching what their journey looked like, how many years did they spend learning these things, and how does that play a part into my life, and how can I live like a creative director now, and just know my shit about being one in the future, or being able to like pursue that. I think I got to break it down into even knowing exactly the research behind what it takes to be one.
Something to touch on that, David. Just do the research, everything that you want to do, because it'll help you get to that point. But a lot of times, you're put in a position and you just got to figure it out. Like if that's something you want to do, like I'm just thinking back to a time when I was promoted to lead man, and like I didn't, I thought I knew what that was supposed to look like or whatever, and then once I got the promotion, I had to do it. I just got to figure it out,
Yeah.
True.
Yeah. For me, it would be I want to say for our wholesale business, we obviously been breaking that down because we meet probably more than we meet. We meet like 3 times a week through virtual, through phone calls, in person, whatever. And we have long-term visions within our business, but the short term right now is capital. We need capital to get loans, get things moving into the funds. So breaking down, I think it would be figuring out smarter and more effective ways to market, not only market, but my communication with dealing with people that are selling, that when I do start to make phone calls, seriously, when I'm sitting down, making phone call after phone call after phone call, I'm not wasting my time. Because if I waste my time on someone that is not motivated, that's not really moving in the direction of selling their property, I'm missing out on somebody that is. So breaking it down to getting us out there, getting our name out there, finding these leads, working with the leads we have right now, getting as many closes as possible, obviously hitting our goal of 6 figures, hopefully by the end of this year. And then once we hit that, then we can really start to move into things like creative financing, the big stuff, commercial real estate, to really build something big. But right now our focus is the small deals we have on hand right now, because that's all we can play in right now is a small step. So I think we just need to take it step by step every single week.
Okay.
Awesome. For myself, I'm kind of along the lines with John. Building, so the curriculum's kind of got some bones and framework to it, but kind of making it my own. So running through PowerPoints, putting my own personal spin on it, and providing a resource for students to come in, ask questions to. So that going into September, I have an established office hour. I'm gonna make it a point to be in my office during the office hour, not just virtual. So if a student does want to come see me, they can.
That shit's so scary to me, dude. Like thinking about man, I brought up in the last book, I'm just so not computer savvy, and I have to do all this shit. It scares the shit out of me.
Yeah, with time, brother, with time.
So, yeah.
All right. And with that, we're going to wrap it up. We here at Paradigm want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, like the video, drop a comment down in the comment section. Make sure you follow us on all our social media platforms as well. All the information will be in the description below. We hope you enjoyed the show. Peace.